Howdy y'all, welcome back. It's a hot Sunday in Texas and I am indoors except for whenever I do part of this recipe. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to make a focaccia bread recipe, and what I do with this focaccia bread is it's enough of a recipe that it actually makes two of these iron skillet pizzas. And what we normally do is I'll make them and put it all together, and my husband will smoke it out on the smoke pit. But what I'm doing today is we have found that whenever we do this, it's way too much. If we're not having company, it is way too much food, and it's just not something that we want to freeze for leftovers. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to make one of the iron skillet smoked pizzas with half of the bread recipe. With the other half, I'm going to make a regular square focaccia bread, the way normal focaccia bread is supposed to be. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use that to slice into squares and make breakfast sandwich bread with it. So to begin with though, this focaccia bread is a basic recipe. The bread of it is the base. You can do whatever you want with this recipe. The only herbs that the original recipe calls for, and I wish I could remember where I got it. I don't know where I got the recipe from. I've been using it for so long, I don't know. But the herbs that I'm using in the normal pizza dough that I do is fresh rosemary, oregano, thyme, and some garlic. Now I've also used herbes de Provence, and that gives it a different kind of French provincial flair instead of Italian. I have also done more of a spicy flair with a lot of these same herbs, but I'll add red pepper flakes, and it just gives it more of a kick. So it just depends on what you're putting on top of the pizza as to how you want to season the dough. And as far as what you top the pizza with, the way we do it is we call this leftover pizza because we get real creative with it. We just put things together from meals that we've already cooked for the week. Like today I'm going to use a smoked pork butt that my husband smoked yesterday. So I'm going to put that with some cheese and just different stuff on top of the pizza itself. We have done leftover chicken. I've done a chicken parmesan pizza. I've done a chicken marsala pizza. That was actually one of the best ones I've done. It was chicken marsala that I had made, and then whatever was left over, we used that on the topping of the pizza. So you can really get creative with this, and I encourage you to get creative because it's really fun. And this dough is just delicious. It's delicious by itself, just as bread. We tend not to eat a lot of bread, so whenever we do this, it's kind of a treat these days. So anyway, I'm gonna read off the recipe as far as the ingredients, and then I'll post it in the link in the actual video notes. And then you can just get as crazy with it as you want to get. So we've got extra virgin olive oil, minced garlic cloves, fresh thyme, fresh rosemary, black pepper, fresh ground black pepper. And then for the dough itself, we've got warm water, active dry yeast, honey, flour, and sea salt. That's not a lot of things. This is a very simple dough. And like I said, this is going to make enough for two of these pizzas or one full sheet pan of focaccia bread if you want to just make focaccia bread with it. But anyway, I've got all the ingredients laid out here, and I'm going to show you some of the steps. I'm not going to take you through every single one of the steps because I will post this online. And I just think it makes a better video if I'm not taking you completely through every step. So anyway, I'm going to get started on this by first, what I need to do first is I put the olive oil and all the herbs in the skillet, and I cook it until the garlic gets a little bit brown but not crispy. Stop long before it gets crispy because I've made that mistake, and It's okay, but you know, there's little crunchy bits in the dough, and it's just not as good. So that's what I'll do first. I'll start with that, and then once that is cooked, as that's cooking, I'll start the dough, and then the dough has to rise for an hour, and then whenever I split the dough, it has to rise in the pans that I'm cooking it in for another 20 minutes. So let's get started with that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got all my herbs taken off the stalks, and man, let me just tell you, just the fragrance from stripping these from the stalks, it smells so good. I love the smell of fresh herbs. And I'm just going to give these, the oregano is the largest leaf herb that I'm using in this recipe. The thyme is really small, so I didn't really need to chop it, but I'm chopping it anyway. Of course, the rosemary is the thickest one, so I'm giving these a real, relatively fine chop. Then I'll chop that garlic up also, and whenever I get ready to put these in the hot oil, I will get back with you. The oregano, it was so pretty. My oregano is actually flowering right now. I had already harvested quite a bit of it to dry, but what I left behind went ahead and flowered, and the little purple flowers are so pretty, and I'm going to use them in the recipe. They won't be purple by the time they cook, but they're still going to be nice and fragrant. So I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've gotten all of my herbs and garlic chopped. Let's see if I can. I'm really bad about the opposite direction filming thing. Anyway, I've got them all in this bowl, and I went ahead and I added some of the crushed red pepper flakes because I just think it makes it beautiful, and it gives it such a nice pop of flavor. So my skillet is nice and hot, and I'm just going to add the half a cup of oil. That's olive oil. And since the pan is already hot, oh, it's real hot. Hotter than I thought it was. Anyway, just dump all that in there. Try not to make any of it feel left out there. And I'm just going to stir that around, get it nice and warm. And what this does is it infuses the oil with all those flavors. Yeah, y'all can see that. It's real pretty in that skillet. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up and show you up close. Look how pretty that is. Anyway, while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start getting the dough ready for it. Because part of this is going to go into the dough, and then the other is going to go on top of the dough once it's placed in the pan to rise for the second time. So I will be back. Okay, so I have already put in the warm water and the yeast and the honey, and there's only a quarter teaspoon of honey. This is a very, you'll normally find more sugars in other bread recipes. That's why I like this one so much, because yes, there is flour, and yes, that's not exactly paleo, but at least it's not also really sweet. So I've already proofed the yeast, and now I'm going to put this in my stand mixer with the dough hook, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on low, and I'm going to add a cup of flour at a time. I'm going to use my little rubber spatula to scrape the sides as it's mixing. And so as that comes together, you're just going to keep adding the remaining bits of flour. And you don't want to turn on your mixer too high, or else flour is going to go all over your kitchen. And at this time, all that's in here is the flour and the water, sugar and yeast. There's no flavor to this whatsoever. As it mixes down, it's not as likely to spray flour all over your kitchen. So I turn it up a little bit, mainly because I get impatient. So while that's mixing nice and smooth, I'm going to go over to my iron skillet and I'm going to get a 1/4 cup of the herb and oil mixture. And before I put the last cup of this flour in, I'm going to put that in here so it can all mix together really well. And I'll be right back. Got the oil. It is still hot. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Actually off. That's what I did. Pour that in. Luckily there's no egg in this because you really should let that oil cool down before you put it in this mixture. But if there were egg in this bowl, that oil was hot enough that it would have cooked that egg right off. I'm just going to, I've added all the flour now, and I'm just going to continue mixing until that's all well incorporated. And as this gets incorporated, if you're using the dough hook on your mixer, and you can do this manually too, I don't have to, so I don't, because you know, I do have other things to do. But let me show you, as this gets incorporated, it's going to start forming a ball. And as it pulls away from the sides, now if it feels like it's too wet, you can add more flour. If it feels like it's too dry, you can add more water. At this point, the way that looks, I'm going to go ahead and add more water. I'm sorry, I'm going to add more flour because that's just too wet. So I will do that right now. Get y'all back on here. Again, I don't have a professional setup, so this is what you got. My thumb in the frame, that's what you got. I'll be back. Okay, so you can see now I've added about another full cup of flour to this, and it's turning into a ball, and that's what you want. The reason that you might have to add more flour or water, and this is Texas, so and it's very humid. It is extremely humid today, and so that's why I had to add more flour, because it was wetter than it needed to be. And if it's a drier climate than Texas, you might have to add more water. So with pretty much any bread recipe or any dough, you might find that you have to fluctuate a little bit on the flour and water. So I'm going to turn this out onto my cutting board and get that ready to rise, and I'll be back. Okay, I have turned the dough out of the mixing bowl, And what I did was I coated the ceramic bowl with olive oil, and I put the dough in there, turned it over to where it's coated with the oil really well, and I just kind of patted it down. I've got a wet towel that I'm going to place over the dough. Sorry, one-handed here, y'all. Again, with the very amateur and unprofessional filming work of April Lee Ming. So what I'll do with that is I'll put it close to my oven. Even though the oven isn't on, it's still a warmer area of the kitchen. And I'm going to let this rise for an hour. After an hour, that's going to have about doubled in size. And then I'll be back with you to show you what I do next. Okay, it's been an hour and the first rise has happened. And so I'm sorry I was unable to show you the process of what I've done here, but my dear sweet husband is on the phone with our pastor, and I didn't want to interrupt, but it's getting late and I really want to get this done. So anyway, I left some of the oil and herbs in the iron skillet, and I put some of it in this toaster pan that I'm going to bake this this regular focaccia bread in the toaster. So at this point, we have to let it rise another 20 minutes. While that is rising, I'm going to be chopping up the pork butt that he smoked yesterday, and I'm going to be shredding some cheese. And in the meantime, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to use for the sauce on this pizza. And that's where the creativity comes in, because, you know, there's really no solid plan when you're using leftovers. So you just have to kind of think about what tastes good together and what you want to experiment with, knowing that if it's not that great, and yeah, you either eat it or you don't. Luckily, bread is not that expensive to make, so, you know, it's not like you're wasting a whole lot if it turns out really bad. But haven't had one yet that turned out bad. That turned out bad enough not to eat, anyway. So I will get back with you in 20 minutes when I've got all the stuff ready to put on the pizza and put on the smoker. Okay, so I, again, was unable to show you the process of what I did, but it wasn't very much. I just sprinkled some of the herb oil mix on top of the focaccia bread, and I put it in the toaster. I've got it baking at 350, basically until it's done. And it's about halfway done right now, but it smells so good. And we are heating up the smoker right now to get the pizza in, and I will show you that when we're ready to do that. Okay, it took about 10 minutes for the focaccia bread to bake in the toaster oven. Still waiting on the smoker to come to heat. But I'm gonna cut into this and see how it looks. Let's see. I'm gonna cut it about the size I'm planning on making those sandwiches. It's nice and crusty, just like focaccia is supposed to be. Probably could have used a pizza cutter for this. May have been easier. So you can see it's nice and tender inside. I think I'll cut this into I guess I'll cut them in half. That might be a little bit overkill on the bread for breakfast, but we'll see. We'll see how the mister likes them. Of course, one of these is going to be a tester. Yeah, that's nice and tender inside. Looks really good. And I'm not going to chew on video. I don't like that. But anyway, I'll be back again whenever I put the pizza into the oven, or into the smoker. So this turned out well. I'm happy with this. Okay, the smoker is up to temperature, and we're about to put this on the smoker for, what, 20 minutes? Usually 20 minutes. All I did, I didn't really have anything to make a real sauce for it, so I just did
the herb and oil mixture for that also. And so this is basically just a smoked pork and jalapeno pizza. We might add some tomatoes and definitely some cheese, but whenever it's time to add the cheese, we will return. Okay, we got the pizza ready for the cheese, and we did go ahead and decide to slice up some tomatoes and put them on top. And just so y'all know, this is a pit boss. I don't know what kind, but anyway, this is a pit boss pellet smoke. And this is not what we use for smoking meats. This is basically what my husband calls a glorified outdoor oven. So that's how we use it. It only puts a little bit of smoky flavor on the food. It really is more of an outdoor oven. But so what we got here is, I've got some shredded Kobe Jack cheese, as well as some shredded smoked Cuban cheese that I'm putting on top. And the thing I love about this focaccia bread is that, and especially in an iron skillet, I don't think I'll ever make pizza without doing an iron skillet again. But, and I've been doing this for a while now. The thing I love about it is it's so crispy. And I do not like soft pizza dough. I like crispy dough. Anyway, this has been on here. Unfortunately, I got such a late start on this. It's pretty late. It's almost 2 o'clock at night, which is ridiculously late for eating anything, especially this heavy. But we've also been snacking, so we may not even eat much tonight. It's pretty long on there. I didn't think I was going to have enough cheese, but it's looking pretty good. I mean, you can never have too much cheese, so it's definitely not how much we normally use, but I think it'll be good enough. So now that the cheese is on there, we're going to be smoking or cooking, baking, whatever, making it long enough for the cheese to melt and get a little bit bubbly and maybe a little bit crispy, brown looking, and then we'll take it off. Well, this pizza is looking beautiful. I usually like for the cheese to get more done than that, but I don't want the crust to burn. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off and take it in the house. Alright, my handsome husband is cutting down this thing. Nice and crispy. Still sizzling. We like pepper. Would you mind taking a piece out, baby? To show our viewers, can you take a piece out? Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. Nice and thick. And that was just half the recipe. So if you used all of it for one of these, it would overflow the skillet. That's yummy.
I got mine. Where's y'all's?
Hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you can use it. I will post the recipe in the comment or in the video notes. And enjoy.
Hey y'all, back again. I decided to do a little tag on to the end of that last video just to show you what actually went down. So we started with a smoked pork butt and I made a focaccia bread recipe. What I did was I made the focaccia bread pizza, which is this. And I also did the focaccia square or rectangle loaf to make breakfast sandwiches. And if you look at my other video of the 2 make ahead breakfast, I explain in there how to do a pan of eggs to go on the breakfast. And so that's what I did, only I had so much extra diced up smoked pork that I was able to basically put that in with the egg mixture to make the flat egg pan instead of doing like bacon or sausage or whatever I would normally do for the sandwiches. So so I have basically an omelet egg that is on this focaccia bread sandwich. And I just wanted to show y'all that so you could see how that ended up, because we had enough pizza from that one pan of pizza to eat dinner last night and have leftovers for a couple of days for each of us. Plus we had enough for breakfast sandwiches for well, at least 5 days for him. I don't usually eat the breakfast sandwiches, but anyway, that is a very budget friendly way of using leftovers, and I just wanted to include that in the video because these things look pretty good. I mean, you would pay good money to go out and eat this kind of stuff at a restaurant, and if you're on a budget, like honestly everyone should be, if you don't eat leftovers, you are really cheating yourself. So these are good ways to use leftovers and make them new again. So I just wanted to include that before the end of the video. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and if you have any questions or comments about any ideas that you might want to use, feel free to comment in the comment section and I will get back with you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Well, I'm sorry. I actually did remember one other thing after I finished the last postscript to the video. So this is PS number 2. On the budget friendly aspect of everything that I did with that, we still have half of the pork butt left. So that's either going to be frozen for a later time for whatever, or you can make pork enchiladas. You can do street tacos. You can do, we're probably going to make a nice large batch of tamales out of that. And so, I mean, depending on what else you do with that, you could have 10 more days worth of food just from that one pork butt. So I just wanted to include that. I'm sorry I keep coming back. Promise this is the end of the video. But I feel like these are important things for people that are on a budget and also wanting to do some creative cooking. So anyway, I'm gone. Thank you.